Interesting conversations coming from Spacestation Gaming. Could they be looking to get back in the Apex scene after recently leaving the Apex scene, after recently having their roster disband after winning recently the championship for Split 2 playoffs? Crazy stuff that happened, but we're here to keep you up to date with what's going on in the Apex esports scene right now. First, I wanted to make mention Oversight Esports obviously has resumed its scrim results from ALGS Championship. Obviously, they take the weekends off, and that's why we haven't had anything over the last day or two. But Complexity in first place for this one. Lone Sharks in second, which we'll talk more about in just a second. Fnatic in top 3. TSM, Cloud9, LG, Stallions in that top 7. Falcons, for the first time in a while, finally getting down in 8th place, which is ironic considering this is also the first time in a while Moist Esports down here in 10th place. So the teams that were just dominating for so long in first, second, and third, now you're seeing Falcons, two of those, Falcons and Moist Esports, down here a little bit lower outside of the top 5. So you got those guys in top 10. You've got Eternal, 100 Thieves, Burger, Furia, X and Y, Noctum, Aurora, Interforce 36, Primus Commanda in 19th, and Havoc in 20th. And then you move on to the Space Station conversation. That's all that was pretty much going on in the ALGS scrims. But what's going on here in the Space Station world? You guys know that shortly after Split 2 playoffs were over, Space Station had won. The roster disbands. The roster, basically breaks up. And there was a lot of animosity, it seemed, within that roster already. So they had already decided that they would be breaking up after all of it was over. Well, they tweeted their, a little bit of a chime back into the Apex scene. Christmas came early, got their trophy from Split 2 playoffs from winning, and that's nice. But hey, Space Station, you got anything else going on over there? And that's basically the conversation that everybody wanted to know. And you could see one of the comments saying, hey, please sign the Stallions, because yes, we have a lot of unsigned teams right now, a lot of unsigned rosters, unsigned talent, and that's a lot of what I had to say in my post yesterday. A lot of these guys, even Albralelie specifically, struggling with their coach to get to champs. They're having to do GoFundMe's. They're having to get extra funding to help these guys, because EA did decide to help the players, but they're not helping substitute players or coaches, I believe, to get there. So that was a big problem. Okay, can we get some of these organizations to step in and sign up? Well, John asked, can we sign the Stallions? Space Station give the little thinking emoji, and you wonder, okay, are they actually going to sign the Stallions? Is this just blowing smoke, or what's actually going on? Albralelie also follows it up with the same stuff going on. But if we had to be honest here, while I love the Stallions and I would love to see them get signed, it definitely would help a lot. I would imagine that they probably wouldn't have started the GoFundMe if this was already going on behind the scenes, because I doubt that this just happened yesterday. And it also was brought up by AJ Hawk, which makes a very fair point, that more than likely they're going after another roster. This was coming from the competitive Apex Reddit thread that basically said, do we know if SSG is picking up another roster? Surely they were coming back. They did say that they were coming back after all of this happened. They said that they didn't want to be done with Apex. They weren't sure what the future held, but they hoped and had plans to be back in some form or capacity. They just posted their major trophy that they got, and the CEO had said that they were not done with Apex Legends. Maybe they're in talks with some of the free agent teams, and maybe that is the case. Specifically, one of the Lone Sharks. Lone Sharks obviously have been formerly with the SSG organization, specifically Dropped anyways, and Dropped has had experience. And that's exactly what Jayhawk had said. I gotta imagine that they're in talks with Dropped, Noct, Yanya, and Raven, 7th place team at Split 2 playoffs. Clearly a top contender, and Dropped has had former experience with the org. It feels like an easy fit. On top of that, if you're going after some of the top rated players, not just of recent, but of all time, it was noted just recently that Dropped is a top 5 IGL of all land placements. So this guy's not just like, the conversation of the last year or whatever. He's not just recently been good. All time, Dropped is a solid contender for any organization. And you got to consider that that's probably why he was up there with Bleed Esports. Obviously a team that was rumored to be paying pretty well, but unfortunately turns out they were not paying at all. So is Space Station going after the Lone Sharks with Dropped, Yanya, Noct, and Raven, or are they going after maybe some other rosters out there, maybe one a little bit less expensive? Maybe the Stallions are one to consider, but maybe even one less expensive than that, like Primus Commanda with Strafing Flame. Maybe even considering some of these organizations that aren't like huge, like Oblivion is another one that you can consider. There's probably cheaper ways to get into the champs conversation without having to buy a massive roster. But obviously, I think most people are probably assuming Lone Sharks are the way to go. They're one of the top teams here for sure. So interested to see what you guys think down in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all things going on inside the world of Apex Legends, esports, drama, news, stories, and much more. And until the next time, we'll see you all later.